Hello everyone, Silent here. Welcome back to another Minecraft Bedrock Edition tutorial. In this one, I'll be showing you how to build a very simple, cheap, and very efficient wither skeleton farm for your world. For how simple this farm is, you get some pretty extreme rates, up to 5 wither skulls a minute. That is enough wither skulls to make 100 wither bosses an hour and get 100 nether stars in 1 hour of using this farm. That is kind of crazy and completely unheard of on a Bedrock edition. This is starting to rival the Java edition of Minecraft just a little bit. So I'll be showing you guys technically 2 different farms in this video. So the first farm is just a very simple farm where you just go ahead and walk around and kill all the mobs yourself using a looting sword. And doing that, you get 1 skull every 2 to 3 minutes. So it's not nearly as efficient. However, it is much cheaper. And if you want to, you can go ahead and modify that same farm into a much more automated farm that uses just basically some rails and some charged creepers, and you can get up to 5 wither skulls a minute doing that. Very, very nice farm. So how exactly does this wither skeleton farm work? Well, long story short, we are basically finding all of the different spawn spots or places in your nether fortress that can spawn wither skeletons. Then we're building a little cage around it so that as soon as the wither skeleton spawns, it is trapped there forever until you decide to kill it or move it elsewhere. So these so-called spawn spots are few and far between, as you can see, and these are all the spots in this entire nether fortress that can actually spawn wither skeletons. This is terrible for efficiency and also a really big pain in the butt for one main reason. These spots will be in completely different locations depending on your fortress and your world seed. So overall, building this is a little bit of a pain in survival, but I have developed a technique to actually find these rather simply. So at this point, you probably have one giant question. If the basic farm is so bad for getting skulls, then what makes the farm with all the rails so efficient? Well, basically what we're doing is we are collecting all of the wither skeletons from the farm and then sending them through a nether portal to the overworld. That frees up the mob cap, allows more wither skeletons to spawn, and we don't have to kill them with looting. Looting is extremely inefficient on a Bedrock edition. It's always broken. The loot tables are never how they should be. It's always just a problem. But what we're actually doing with these wither skeletons once we get them to the overworld is actually blowing them up with a charged creeper. Typically, a charged creeper will only drop 1 mob head when it kills a group of mobs, but on Bedrock, it'll kill as many things as it can, and every single one of those will drop a head if it can. So 1 charged creeper can get you many stacks of wither skeleton skulls, and it's pretty fantastic. Not only that, tridents with channeling are now a thing, so getting charged creepers is even easier than it was before. They're already super common naturally on Bedrock Edition, and that just is kind of icing on the cake. 1 charged creeper gets you essentially infinite wither skeleton skulls. You can spend an hour just collecting hundreds and hundreds of wither skeletons to the overworld, and then blow them all up at one time with a charged creeper to get just a huge amount of skulls at one time. It's honestly pretty fantastic, and there's no reason not to do it. It doesn't take that much more time, and it really doesn't cost that much more resources. So now that I've told you everything that you need to know about this farm, how do you actually go about using it? Well, it's very simple. You kind of just walk from cell to cell, and anytime you find a wither skeleton, go ahead and place down a minecart. He will hop into the minecart, and then the way that we are going to be setting up the rails, they will go straight into our minecart unloader, and then be set directly to the overworld, as you can see right there, and our minecart just gets dropped off into this chest. A very simple and easy little system, and also very safe. I have yet to take more than like a couple hearts of damage using this farm, and I don't even have any enchants on my armor. My sword is pretty basic as well. This is honestly a very safe system. And what about these cells that don't have wither skeletons in them? Well, if they have blazes or anything, just go ahead and kill them, and you'll get some blaze rods. You can pick up any items that are in there, and it's a pretty good source of blaze rods and gold, bones, other things like that, magma creams as well. Really just a pretty good all-around nether fortress farm. So the simplified version works the exact same way. You just go from cell to cell and pick off any mobs that are in there. As you're walking around, more will spawn in the cells that you just cleared out. And as you can see, you get all the different mob types, and kind of a lot sometimes. Like, that was a lot of skeletons in one go. So pretty simple and pretty awesome little farm. and it's very safe to use as well, especially this version. The only things that can ever get out of these cells are the baby pigmen, which I haven't actually seen spawn in here, and then also magma creams. Magma creams like to really glitch out. That's mostly just a bug with magma creams, I think, though. And now it is time for the tutorial. It is basically impossible for this to be an exact block by block tutorial because these spawning spaces are going to be in different locations for every single one of you out there. So instead, this is going to be a more detailed general guide to everything that you need to know to build this farm efficiently in your world. First try, no problems. So the first massive step, and this is a really important one, is finding yourself a good fortress to build in. We have an excellent one right here, dead center of a massive lava lake. All this lava is going to prevent mob spawns, and it's also going to help stuff despawn around the edges due to the light. So scout your nether, be very, very sure that you want to use the nether fortress that you find. It needs to be in the center of a lava lake, have lots of nice open area, and it just be, you know, similar to this. Once you find yourself a good nether fortress, you need to decide what part of the nether fortress to use. So what you're looking for is a high concentration of different segments of the fortress. So like this is a segment right here, this is a segment, this little road's a segment. All of these different parts and bridges and crossroads and little buildings, they're all different segments, and each one of these is going to have their own spawning spaces. So the density of spawning spaces over here is going to be much, much higher than say over here where there's just a few bridges, it's all very spread out. So find the area that you don't want to use, slab all that up, all these little inner areas, all the little inside hallways, and then wherever you have the highest concentration of like bridges and these crossroads and stuff, that is where you want to build your farm. On to step 2 of building your farm, you need to kind of mine everything down to the same general layer. So mine is at Y59. This is just the layer that all my main bridges were at. Might be the same for you, might be a couple higher or lower. But the little building that was over here, I just mined that down to this layer as well. So once you have everything mined down, you need to go ahead and build a wall around the edges, and there's a specific way that you need to do this. So the standard nether fortress walkways are 3 wide in the center, and then they have 1 block walls on either side. So there can actually be spawn spots on top of these walls. So what you're going to be doing is removing these walls, making sure there's a floor underneath it, and then building your walls on the outside of this. And you want to make these 2.5 blocks tall or even taller if you like. That's just to keep you inside the farm so that you don't fall into, you know, that. And also to keep magma creams and other such mobs inside the farm as well. Because mobs like to sink down to the bottom of the lava lake and then they just sit there forever and take up the entire mob cap. So build a wall going all the way around your farm area. And then once you have that in place, it's much easier to visualize where the center is. And once you have a center spot determined, go ahead and build yourself a nether portal here. And this is going to be where you're sending all of your wither skeletons through. It is now time to find the spawning spots in your fortress. Woo! It's kind of. This is going to be the most grindy and time-intensive part of your build. And also, please do not blame me for the method at which we find the spawn spots. Blame the game instead. It's the one that kind of invented spawn spots. But I think you're going to need to do a desert mining trip. Or if you have a ton of iron, you can use iron bars as well. But basically what you need to do is everywhere that you have a bridge or a little extension like this, or anywhere that you had a building and you turn that into a road instead, you need to go down and place, you know, your glass panes at player head height. So 1 block gap off of the ground. And what this is going to do is essentially isolate where they are spawning and lock everything that spawns to that exact spot. They won't be able to move around or glitch out or anything, which is exactly what you want. You're trying to isolate exactly where they're spawning. Now, this is kind of a crude method, but in the long run, it's going to take the least amount of time. So once you have all of your glass panes in place, what you need to do is figure out where the northwest is. And this is very simple. Place down a piece of dirt, place down a sunflower, and this sunflower will always face east. So if that's east, we know that way is going to be north, and this way is going to be west, meaning that this over here is the northwest. The reason why this is important is because the actual spawn spots spawn mobs on the northwest corner, technically in between all 4 of these blocks, and that is how things are able to spawn in between these glass panes and how our spawn chambers and the completed farm actually hold the mobs. So anytime you see a wither skeleton or a blaze in this farm, and those are the only 2 mobs you want to pay attention to, you know you found yourself a spawn spot. So once you find yourself a blaze, you just remove yourself that pane, kill that guy, and you know that this right here is the spawn spot. And of course we are facing ourselves to the northwest, so go ahead and put a pillar wherever you have a spawn spot. That way no more mobs spawn there, and you know for a fact that that is indeed a spot that you can turn into a spawning chamber for your farm. Again, you only want to pay attention to where the blaze is and where the wither skeleton spawns. Everything else that spawns, skeletons, magma creams, pigmen, endermen, whatever, it does not matter. Just go ahead and kill it. They are completely irrelevant as they can spawn anywhere in the entire fortress. So as you can see, we got a couple more wither skeletons here. We're just going to go ahead and kill those guys, remove that, and put in ourselves another spawn pad. And this part is going to take you a while. Dedicate a couple hours to really making sure that you get every single spawn spot. I've been here for probably about 30 or so minutes in creative, switching it back to peaceful every now and again to clear out the mob cap and get more things to spawn. And as you can see, there's even more things that I've missed. Each one of these iron blocks underneath these glass is a spawn spot that I know for a fact can spawn skeletons. And there's so many more that have yet to be filled in. The spawning rate is very slow on Bedrock, so take your time with this and really make sure that you dedicate some time to this and actually get all of your spawn spots figured out. Otherwise, you're just going to be missing out on free wither skeleton skulls and free efficiency in your farm. And once you are satisfied with the number of spawn locations that you have discovered, you can actually start building up your little mini farms. So underneath each one of the pillars that you have, go ahead and put a proper identifier block, just some sort of full block, such as an iron block or cobblestone or whatever, just to identify your spawn spot. And then what you can do is orientate yourself to the northwest again and start placing in your glass panes. You need 8 for each one of these, and then you just want a couple of slabs on top just to tie it together and keep all the mobs in there, all the blazes and stuff. And that is basically it for each one of your little farms. I know, a lot of work just to build these little things, isn't it? Even more work to figure all this out. But once you have all of these little things in place, what you can do is go ahead and start slabbing your entire area just to give yourself a nice little floor to stand on. Nothing's going to get blown up by ghasts. And as you're building, this stuff will start to spawn in your spawn chambers, and that will just give you a few extra skulls as you are slabbing up all of this. So if you just wanted the simple farm, 1 to 2 with the skulls every 2 to 3 minutes, then stop here. This is all you really need. But if you want to build the more advanced farm, 5 with the skulls a minute, then you need to do a little bit more work. So now it's time to install all your different rail systems, and this is where you're going to need to use your brain smarts a little bit. As much as it might hurt, you got to use your brain smarts because your layout for your cells is going to be completely different from everyone else's. But basically what you do is you put a redstone block in the back of your cell and then just a couple powered rail going out of it to really launch the minecart. And behind this block, you need a full block just to, launch the minecart. And the wither skeletons don't care about spawning on top of the rails. They can totally spawn on top of rails. They can also spawn on top of the redstone block. And then that's pretty much it. Just connect all of this up to a series of main lines that then go to your nether portal. Again, your layout's going to be completely different, so there's just really not too much to say here. So I just went ahead and made this as simple as possible for you guys. So basically what happens here is the wither skeletons in the minecarts come into this thing, they get popped out of the minecart by that activator rail, hit this string, and then get immediately pushed into the overworld via this piston. So then the minecart goes around the corner here, hits this cactus, pops, and then it just goes into the chest. Extremely simple, so you don't lose any minecarts or anything. And basically what you need to do after you build this up in your world, extremely simple. Don't think I need to do any tutorial for that. Is it just place some extra blocks around here just to prevent mob spawning and also those minecarts from ejecting the wither skeletons in any direction that is not directly right there. So now if we go ahead and grab ourselves a wither skeleton, you will see this system in action. Maybe if they are deciding to cooperate. There we go, and let's see how this works. Boom and boom. As you can see, absolutely flawless. And now for the stuff on the overworld side. So basically what we have right here is just the nether portal that links up to the one in the wither skeleton farm. All the wither skeletons come through here, and then they just kind of walk off that platform into this water stream, and then into our kill chamber. This entire thing is made out of obsidian for a reason. Charged creepers really like to go boom. So if you don't make this out of obsidian, it's not going to last any more than one time. And all these guys are just stuck in there because they are 3 tall, and this is all 2 tall around here. So then what we do is we have our charged creepers over here, and these guys basically just get mine-carted in there. And fun fact, when you blow these guys up inside of a minecart, they don't actually destroy the minecart. So what we can do is go ahead and light that guy. We're just gonna hide back here. And as you can see, we get all of the skulls ever and the minecart back. You don't even lose your minecart. That's how nice this farm is. So considerate. And we just got 4 stacks of wither skeleton skulls. That is fantastic. Let's just throw those in lava. So this system over here is pretty bog standard. There's really not too much to say about this either. I'm sure you guys can figure this out. A containment pod for your creepers. Whenever there's a thunderstorm, throw a channeling trident at them. Boom, they will all become charged creepers. This is a pretty standard minecart pickup system, and then this just goes directly into the kill chamber right here. Only put in 1 charged creeper at a time. That's all you ever need. So there's just 2 final notes about this farm. One is that underneath all of your rail lines, you need to have a glass, except inside of your spawn chambers. The reason is rail itself doesn't block spawns, obviously. So yeah, just make sure there's glass underneath everything. And mobs can of course spawn on these things, so the redstone blocks need to be to the side as well as we have over here. Also, there is a world download in the description box down below in case anything is confusing or you just want to take a closer look at this farm over here. And a final note, if you want to get the best rates possible, then you will need to slab the nether or light it all on fire or place, lava everywhere in order to prevent all of these spawns out here. All of these spawns, even when they're not loaded, prevent other things from spawning inside of our mob cap. See, all those guys are invisible now. They're not loaded, but they still count towards the mob cap. Bedrock Edition is very, very weird. So slab 4 chunks in every single direction from anywhere that you can stand inside your farm to get optimal rates. I'm really just curious at this point to see if there is a max limit. I don't think there is, but I'm curious. And that's always a fun sight, and just way too many skulls. But that is going to do it for this tutorial, everyone. I really, truly do hope that you did enjoy and get some use out of this farm. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do hit me up in the comment section. I'll be down there trying to help you guys out as much as I possibly can. If you enjoyed this tutorial, leave a like on the video, and if you guys are new here, consider subscribing so that you don't miss the next tutorial that I upload. But anyway, thank you all ever so much for watching. I'll see you down in the comment section and in the next video. And then there was silence.